Come in, Mama D. Mama D, can you
There you
hear
go. As soon as I go live, as soon as the thing says you're live, then I come back and focus. Hey, everyone.
Hello, everybody. Oh, can I just tell you that I was panicked today? There was some miscommunication this morning about this show, and it did make me panic all day. And I ended up losing my voice yet again. So we are going to be relying on Mama D to do all the talking. And
You're funny. You're a funny girl. Seriously.
I figured I'd do that since she was taking a sip of coffee. That would be good.
Yeah, you'd be lucky I didn't do this.
But we do have a great show tonight. Okay, we're going to be talking about this book here, right? 90 Seconds to a Life You Love. Oh my God, is this good? Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about, all right, this book, all of this is like one huge aha moment. Okay, it really is. If you don't relate to this, I don't know what planet or rock you've been living under, because these are the things that make you go, yeah, I do that. Yeah, I do that. She points out everything.
So, in other words, I'm gonna have to go do some retail therapy, right? I'm gonna have to go buy the book.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is it's amazing. It is amazing, and it's talking about emotions. It's talking about getting you to a more confident place through actually dealing with emotions, which is kind of crazy. But let me
Does
play
it say
something.
anything about dealing with your emotions and losing your voice in that book? Because you
Mm-hmm.
do this.
Yes, I was trying to do her technique today. I'll tell you about it. All right, we're going to play the bio video. We're going to get her on screen so she can relate to what we're going through here. All right. This week in the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, we welcome Dr. Joan Rosenberg. She is a best-selling author, corporate wellness consultant, and media expert who is known globally as an acclaimed speaker and trainer on communication, confidence, resilience, authenticity, and grief. As a 3-time TEDx speaker and a member of the Association of Transformational Leaders, she has been recognized for her innovative emotional mastery and confidence-building approach, and for her thought leadership and global influence in personal development. Dr. Rosenberg has served as a mental health media consultant for documentaries, print, radio, television, and digital outlets. An Air Force veteran, she is a professor of psychology at Pepperdine University, and you can learn more about her if you visit drjoanrosenberg.com. You can follow her on Instagram, and we are talking about her latest book, 90 Seconds to Live a Life You Love, How to Master Your Difficult Feelings to Cultivate Lasting Confidence, Resilience, and Authenticity. And we welcome you and everyone to the Fox Den. Hi, Joan. Welcome to the Fox Den.
Hello there. It's awesome to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. Like I was saying before you came on, the book is amazing. I love the concept. You know, when I read books like this, and I can relate to like every single page that you read, it's just like, get out of my head. Just, like, where do these words come from? How do you know all this stuff? Like, how do you know what I'm thinking? You know what I mean? It's just those, wow. Wow. Thank you for writing such a book. And you know what else?
I'm quite grateful for the opportunity. So thank you. I'm glad that it had the impact I hoped it would have.
Oh, wow. Just wow. I would love to be a student at Pepperdine University. I don't know. Do your students know how lucky they are?
Some do.
So will you tell them to watch this show, and that we'll tell them, you guys are super lucky. And
that's awesome. No, I'm happy to share the link. I actually do sometimes assign some of the stuff that I've been engaged in, so that this
nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's all right. All right, good. Yes, we will do that. We'll share out anything that you want us to share out, because you know what? This show is about you and about your book. And now this book, okay, you've got others, and I will put up, actually I'll do that right now. There's a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Release your anxiety, ease your anxiety. Mean Girls, Meaner Women. I love that, right? Because that's so true. But so you have all these books out, and obviously you've been doing this for a very long time. And how did it start? Is this like a thing in your family? Did you always want to be a psychologist? I mean, where did this
Are you talking
begin?
about the psychology or the writing in terms of where it started?
Oh, actually, because it's like it's all about that, you know?
I was always a child that observed,
Okay.
and I started out shy, quiet, like and the thing that I always kind of laugh about is if people are familiar with wallflowers, I like to joke that I was Velcroed to the wall. That's how shy I was.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so it's like,
Yep.
and and um, so so I was quiet, and I also didn't feel like I fit in, and I didn't belong, and so I would end up observing a lot because I didn't feel like I had what it took to engage in the way that I saw my peers engage, and so I probably started in that way in terms of that sort of thing. I also remember watching people, and I remember believe it or not, watching a mother hit a child in a um, like a department store, and it was like, what causes a parent to do that? And so I had those questions, and I actually wanted to be an outward bound instructor. If you're familiar with the outward bound, it's using nature as a
Hmm.
medium for personal growth.
Yeah.
So that's really what I wanted to do. But when I was kind of the age of moving into college, there were no programs that would support me at that level as an undergrad. And I landed in counseling, an experimental counseling program when I was 19, 20 years old. And I never left.
Well,
So,
you're damn good at it.
well, we can add up the decades at this point. So thank you. And it's come out of a long history.
That's phenomenal. But now this book, all right,
Yes.
it says, I'm just going to read this right out, right? It says your work is being considered the how-to path to developing confidence. All right, what prompted you to start down that journey?
Yeah, well, I was not so to go back then to childhood.
Yep.
I would watch my peers laughing and being totally engaged with each other and going and taking risks that I would never consider. It was like, well, so what is it that they have that I didn't?
Right, right,
And
right.
and,
So what is your definition of confidence then? So like what you didn't have?
well, what I didn't have then. Yeah, I mean, so my definition of confidence now is that it's the deep sense that you can handle the emotional outcome of whatever you face or whatever you pursue.
Right. Right. Now here's the thing. Now you picked eight.
8 feelings. Yes.
8 feelings that you really concentrated on in this book. All right.
Yes.
And
Yep.
I mean, if you used all of them, we would have my bookshelves would be full. I would still be reading, and I wouldn't be able to interview you for another 3 years. So that's how many emotions that there really are. All right. So the 8 that you chose, phenomenal. All right. But it is fascinating. It's just fascinating. Really, again, I mean, I can just go back to get out of my head. You know what I'm like? How
Uh-huh.
do you know what people are thinking? Like, is it just that you've interviewed so many people? Are you getting the general consensus to come up with these questions that we ask ourselves that are listed in the book? Like, do you see yourself doing this? Do you act this way? Do you act that way?
That came from years and years and years of being engaged with clients and training and supervising students and supervising their clients. So you can add up. I don't even know the tens of thousands of hours it would be at this point. I mean, they talk about expertise hitting at 10,000 hours. I'm probably easily around 80,000 or more, 80 to
Wow.
100,000. So, I mean, if you look at, I mean, it's 4 decades in the work. So,
Again, people, she knows what she's talking about. Okay. So you want to live a more confident life, and a lot of people don't don't want to change. They never want to go through any of these emotions. And I get it. I understand it. You know, I lost my husband, especially about grief. You have a whole
Sure.
thing on grief,
Yep.
baby. But it's like I didn't get the opportunity to grieve, really. You know, I had a breakdown at first, of course, you know, but I had to go into mode of shutting down business, do a funeral because he was fit. I was,
Right.
you know, prepared for that at that time. You know what I mean? So it's like one thing after another. Do you keep yourself very busy? And that was one of the things in here. And I'm like, hell yes. Right.
Yeah.
And I do that a lot. I will procrastinate to no end
Right.
to avoid doing, like, say, tax work with paper over here off screen, right?
Right.
Like this, you know, I did a bunch the other day, and then it's like, you know, I've been organizing all kinds of stuff that I don't need to organize just so I don't do that.
Sure, I understand.
So now, if someone comes to you and this is their issue, okay, so say I'm a
Lack of confidence or the procrastination piece.
the procrastination part to
Right.
do the things that you really should be doing,
Right.
that keeping busy thing, that can be for any of these emotions, really.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So,
So here, let me actually dig in and talk about something that I actually don't talk about as much in interviews. The Because you're kind of leading me in that direction. So let me kind of open it up for you. When I first, very early in my career, I ended up drawing a diagram, which I make reference to in the book, but I never show anybody what the diagram is. And the the diagram has two legs to it, basically. And the top of it is that something, an event or situation happens. We have a reaction to it, and then we identify what our experience is. And part of the reaction is bodily, and then we put words to that experience. So I think what I wrote then was that I wrote down thoughts, feelings, needs, and perceptions. And then the two legs were trying not to know what you know, which I talk about briefly in the book, or knowing what you know. Well, going down the leg of trying not to know what you know, which is where all the distractions are, and that's where the procrastination would kick in, or anxiety kicks in, or bodily symptoms kick in. There's a whole lot of stuff that kicks in when you start to go down that path, and it's not a good path to go down. And most people go down that path.
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
why is that?
the other path is the path to confidence. It's the path to congruence. It's the path to a much more alive life, et cetera, et cetera. So when we get engaged in all those distractions, then we're trying not to know something we know.
I get it.
Right.
So
The challenge is, what is it that's going on for us in the moment? Can we stop and go, all right, I'm organizing all this stuff that I shouldn't be organizing. What am I trying to move away from? What's going on? So you take a pause and you check inside and you start to ask yourself, be curious about your own behavior, or be your own experience, and then you can kind of start to figure it out.
Yeah. And you do refer a lot to journaling,
yes, absolutely.
and keeping your journal and asking yourself these questions. And a lot of these things I also printed out. You have some sheets that you can go online when you get the book, right? There's two different sets of sheets. There's some grids. Hi, Dave. Thanks for joining. How, what, and where of feelings, emotional awareness grid, and whatnot. And it's got some questions. I've done it. I've done, I've answered what I could. There are some that take, several weeks, a couple weeks to go over and stuff. So, usually I'm reading these books just for the show. But this one I love so much that I want to do the steps.
Very cool.
So, so I'm trying to dive into it. And I really it is liberating to see, even though in your head these things, but when you read it, and it's pointed out to you, it again is like this big aha moment. And this whole book is like one humongous aha moment. It really is, honest to God. And then I'm like, should I, are we trying to get all our checks into the last column here? Because I got a lot into, like just for instance here. Okay, I need my glasses. Sorry, I'm old. Okay, so out of the emotions, okay, like say, all right, number 1, sadness. All right, you have 1 through 8. All right, 1 is overwhelmed by, you're overwhelmed by sadness. Act as if it doesn't exist is the next one. Ignore these, so these are the emotions. You're ignoring it, you're avoiding it, acknowledging it, tolerating it, accepting it, embracing and learning from it. Now, I know that's the ultimate goal, but for me, I'm at 4. I'm avoiding a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of people do the same, and it's like it's easier to avoid than to go through.
Right.
So what's the benefit though, like of going through it? And you have this thing where you say it's a 90-second.
Right. So yeah. So the first thing is I have something called the Rosenberg reset, and the reset is 1 choice, 8 feelings, 90 seconds. So the 1 choice is I'm inviting people to be choosing awareness as opposed to avoidance. Right. So you're talking about avoidance. My nudge would be to nudge you into, or invite you into, or encourage you into, or challenge you into awareness. And so what's awareness? It's being as aware of and in touch with as much of your moment to moment experience as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We can only do so much.
That's true. And I think you have to do this in phases and in steps, and it's something that you're not used to doing.
Right.
And we were taught as kids, we were, like, don't stand up for yourself. Don't be a nudge.
Right. And I would challenge the notion of not standing up for yourself. But why? The truth of the matter is that avoidance numbs us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Avoidance keeps out of our awareness the very aspects of information, and I'm talking about kind of think of our thoughts as information, think of our feelings as also a source of information, so that when we try not to know what we know, when we avoid, then we're keeping out of our awareness everything that's designed to help us either protect ourselves or connect with others.
Yeah.
So we end up feeling, and if you go down that particular leg that I was talking about, those two the legs of the diagram, then it leads to, ultimately, people stay in avoidance for years. It leads to an experience of numbness and deadness and that sort of thing. So it's what I call soulful depression.
Yeah.
And so I'm not a big fan of that. In fact, if I'm going to go out on a limb here, I think quite a bit of what people describe as anxiety and as depression in our current cultural environment has nothing to do with either one of those. It's that they've checked out from their own, they've disconnected from themselves.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like that you don't know how to,
And that's what the book does. It
and
tries to
exactly
guide you back to that.
Exactly.
And for a lot of people,
you're so far gone.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mama D.
And for a lot of people to face whatever it is that they're trying to avoid is scary, because then you have to admit that like, my mother passed away. This has been a few years, but just using it, I avoided facing. I knew in my head that she had gone,
right?
But to feel that loss took me a few months to deal with that. Even though she passed on my birthday, I asked her to do it. But every birthday, I avoid the emotion of it. I know mentally, I know in my head that she's gone, but to feel that, it scares the bejeebers out of me, because then that means I'm gonna do, as I call it, I'm gonna do the ugly cry. Right. Some people are sitting there, well, it's been like 5 years, or 6 years, whatever. I always say to people, there's no limit on how long it takes for you to grieve. But for me, it's like, no,
Well, and so I mean, I can go all sorts of places with what you just said. I mean, when I think of that kind of grief, I think of that kind of grief as kind of unexpressed love.
yeah,
And so to lean into feeling it means and the tears, though the tears are a reflection or the tears to me are a reflection of the connection
hmm,
that you had with her, and also a reflection of unexpressed love.
yeah.
So, and is that easy to lean into? No, it's not.
Mhm.
So I I know that one.
Yeah. Like I'm great at helping other people through things, but
Uh,
like I'm one of those people who Gina used the word journaling. I tell people you need to journal. You need to get your stuff down in writing. But I avoid journaling. I have a friend who sent me
I said,
an
it's
amazing there we
do
go,
this,
an amazing book
do
so
this,
that I can journal it.
but do this.
And I
Record,
think,
record,
yeah,
record, record. You don't want to journal, record.
yep, it's true.
and I avoid it. And it's like when things hit me, I was like, oh, I'm busy doing dishes. That's doing dishes for me is my meditation.
Ah,
Things will come to me, and I can't pick up a pen, I can't pick up a recorder. My hands are like, and I get it. The deepest meditation I ever did, I was taking a 3 hour hot bath. It's like me, but that was the biggest meditation, the very first and biggest meditation. So water for me is a place that gets me going. Also, water signs or whatever, but I can get people to, I can explain to people what I do is explain to people. I sit on the fence and I give them both sides and yada, yada. I help people, but I have a hard time helping myself. So
Yeah,
something tells me that this book is something I'm going to have to get to help myself.
right. And
Anyway.
you know what else that I learned? I never even thought of it. Okay, because people ask me for help all the time. They ask Mama for help all the time.
Mhm.
Of course we give it, right? Of
Yeah.
course. I never ask for help. In
Oh,
your
yeah.
use
Mm.
asking for help is like giving a compliment.
yep.
And I never, ever thought
It's
of it
like,
that way. And I was like, no kidding.
Yeah.
Because you do. If someone asks you for help,
mm,
like, and you get it all the time, Joan, but Mama, when someone asks you for help, it makes you feel good, right? Like, oh, they trust me, they're
yeah.
honoring me, they're asking me for help, right? So why not do that when you need the help? Because they're going to have that compliment.
Yep. Yep.
And I never thought of that. Never. I was just
Yeah.
like,
And
oh,
for me, asking for help, and I know again, it's here. Asking somebody for help for me is showing a sign of weakness.
So no, well, what I would challenge there is it's not showing a sign of weakness, it's showing a sign of humanness.
Yeah.
It's showing your humanity. And for me, to ask for help means that we have to be in touch with our vulnerability to do it. And
Yeah.
and and when we can do that, when we choose into vulnerability in all its different forms,
Hmm.
that's actually at our greatest strength. We're not weak at all.
Yeah. Oh, no,
It,
no, like I said, I understand that, and
right.
I tell people the exact same thing. But it's like I can help
Yeah,
Gina
but I
on
don't do
this,
it for myself.
but I
Right.
can't do it for myself. No, I can't.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, and I think the other thing for me is that I actually think it cheats us out of I think it cheats us out of an experience of our own of living, if you will,
mhm.
to not ask, because part of the reason is I think that we're designed as human beings to be leaned on
Yeah.
and to lean on others. So
Mhm.
it's both sides of our nature. It's our independent side of our nature and also the dependent side of our nature. And if we're not doing both, we're not living as fully as we can live.
Yeah.
okay. Now here's a thing too. All right. I ask for help, and when do I?
And when the person gets it, then
Yeah,
or when they don't get it, they get
you
upset
get
too.
upset and just do it yourself. But I mean, it's like, yeah, I've kind of gone down that path too. Kind of. I think I understand what you're saying. Because I've helped and helped and helped and helped and helped, and then it'd be like, I would ask for help, and then I'd either get a no, I can't, or, you know, and then it's like,
Or they just ignore it.
you know, and it's like, oh, all right.
And it
know.
it can be from things as simple as,
But then there's a grudge factor.
yeah, it's
You
like shoveling. Okay, it sounds insignificant. I'm in Quebec. Hello, I got a ton of snow,
know.
and I've had so many people say, "Look, we know that things are not easy for you because physically I'm not supposed to shovel, but you got to get out the house. You got to get out the house. The dog won't go out the house when there's so much snow." But people have said, "Oh, just let us know. We'll help you shovel." And when I ask for help, they just either ignore it or they go, let me look into it. If you're going to look into it, you can't do it, then get back to me and say, sorry, I can't. I'm good with that. But, so for me, that's my issue when asking for help is when I ask for help, it's like, and I just use shoveling as an example because I just got more snow.
Yeah.
I understand. I get it. Yeah.
And
No.
I was reading that the other night. Mama asked me to help her with something, and I was like, oh, you know what? I'll do that tomorrow. And then I'm like, you know what? No. And then I was like, right on it. And I'm sending her all kinds of stuff. I'm like, here you go.
Sweet.
Yeah, but I was okay with like I said, because she's like, I know Gina's time schedule, so I'd be like, okay, I can use a little bit of help with this. Can wait till tomorrow. I'm fine with that. Just if I don't, for me, if I don't ask when I'm thinking about it, I'll forget about it, and I'm done.
Yeah, Mary Jane's coming on here too, and then she says you end up not asking anymore, which is true.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then like I have my standards on things too when I need help for like say construction around the house or whatever, because that's what I did.
She don't need to ask people. She just does it herself.
Yeah.
Because it's like my mother used to say, why am I going to explain to you what I want you to do?
I'll just do it.
By the time
and I'll just do it myself.
Have it done.
Yeah. Exactly. And that includes shoveling.
Right.
And I'm just like my mother when that thinks. For me, shoveling my front stairs, I need to have them flat. I can't have a bubble in the step just because that's the way I am. So when people, won't say who, do a half-assed job, according to my standards, then it means I still got to go out there and do the shoveling anyway. So why ask and just go out and do it?
So it's part of that to me then would be handling the disappointment of the way things turn out.
Yeah.
No, and see, and this is the thing. It's like one emotion goes to another emotion, to another emotion, to another emotion. Now we've been gifted these emotions, right?
Yeah.
They're here to serve us and help us and protect us, and yet we avoid 90% of them.
A high percentage, yes. Yeah.
Mama D needs a flamethrower.
That is crazy.
Yeah. So I can walk us back through the reset if you want me to do that.
Definitely, yeah. We got a lot more people coming in here, and so
okay. So the reset is one choice is awareness as opposed to avoidance. The avoidance is trying not to know what you know. The awareness is knowing what you know. And then the 8 feelings that I keep on talking about are sadness, shame, helplessness, anger, vulnerability, embarrassment, disappointment, and frustration.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the question I would almost invariably get asked is why these 8? And it's these 8 because they're the most, in my world, they're the most common everyday spontaneous reactions to things not turning out the way you want or the way you believe they should be turning out.
Yeah.
And so I had this as we started the show. My first big question is how does somebody develop confidence, right? Because that's what I didn't have. But as I got into my professional life, I had a second big question, and that was what made it so difficult for people to deal with unpleasant feelings.
Right.
And so the 8 feelings and the 90-second piece kind of went together. And the 90 seconds, it has to do with having an understanding that what I came to understand is that most of us come to know what we feel in the body first.
Mm.
And the big aha or the big insight that I had at the time was going, oh, wait a minute. It's not that we don't want to feel what we feel, because I actually think we want to feel the whole range of what we feel, pleasant and unpleasant.
Yeah.
It's that we don't want to feel the bodily sensations that help us know what we're feeling emotionally.
And people meaning that, like when you think of sadness, or a real gut-wrenching sadness, it is here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for most. Yeah, I mean, it might be like maybe sadness is a heaviness in the near the heart, and maybe disappointment is the heaviness near the heart, and then a sinking feeling on top of that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or
Embarrassment.
embarrassment, the heat in the face,
Yeah.
right? You'd see the flush, I'd feel the heat.
Yeah.
Right? Heat would be the bodily sensation, or clenching the jaw would be a sensation for anger, possibly, or frustration, or clenching your hands. Or I have clients that would describe feeling heat in their arms or heat at the back of their neck, and that was their signal for anger. So we all have ways in which we experience those feelings, but the thing that I believe makes it so people want to avoid it is that they don't want to experience the bodily sensation that helps them know what they're feeling. And it's nanoseconds. We're not talking I have a reaction and then I go, oh, what was that?
Yeah, it's just like a split second.
Yeah. Right, it's instantaneous. So that's my thing then, is was to then help people understand that, because I was always telling people to ride the wave, ride the wave, ride the wave, and I was intuitively I was on it. I was correct. I just didn't have the science behind it. And then when the neuroscience came out, then it was like, ride the bodily sensation waves, and oh, by the way, Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor made this, a Harvard-trained neuroscientist made this observation that when a feeling gets triggered, there's this rush of biochemicals into the bloodstream that actually activate the bodily sensations we're talking about, and they flush out of the bloodstream in roughly an upper limit of 90 seconds. So then all we have to do is ride, and the way I emphasize it in the book is ride one or more short-lived bodily sensation waves. And the more we can do that, the more we stay present.
And then it's less and less and less.
Yeah, and the more present we are to our feelings, I will tell you, the first thing that I notice when people start to lean in is that organically they feel like this lift.
Right.
It's just a very natural, oh, I feel better.
Yeah. Well, you know what else you feel better too is when you can relate to someone else having the same problem.
Yeah.
When you get out of that uniquely, this is my unique feeling, and it's so not, right?
Right.
And that right there takes that one little level and bumps it up. Once you finally get over it, oof.
Yeah. So my thing is that when people can actually experience their feelings more effectively, they feel emotionally liberated.
Yeah.
It actually leads to that experience.
And a much happier
existence. Yeah. There's more to it, but that's the foundational piece.
Yeah. Again, this book here, all my million dog ears that I have in here, okay?
Love it.
Yeah, if you wrote about every single thing, again, the shelves would be full of volume after volume after volume. You can only write so much in one book, and man, did she pack a lot in this one book.
I did.
Oh my God.
Just a quick note for everybody who's in the chat room. I have put the links in to Dr. Joan's website specifically to get her books, but I'm sure you can also get them on Amazon.
Oh yeah, no, you can Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere somebody buys books is where they can get them.
Right, and along with these the books and whatnot too, you get charts that you can print out, exercises that you do. The exercises are amazing. Are you really going to find out a lot about yourself quickly? Like instantly. And the grids and the emotional awareness grids and things like that. Wow, if you're going to, you know what, you guys get this, you're going to be writing me saying thank you for having her on that show, right? Because I know you will. And I know you will. Now, can I ask you, what is not this one, banners, I need my banners. Okay, this is her website, okay, drjoanrosenberg.com. Also, there's a gift. Will you explain what this is? And that's at drjoanrosenberg.com/gift. gift?
You would ask me a question I don't know the answer to.
Oh, no.
I believe it has. I think one part, if I remember correctly, one is one of the chapters of the book. It's might be an audio of me reading one chapter of the book. I think a second is something that has to do with the eight feelings, and there's a third thing that is gifted out. But I didn't prep
Okay.
for. And
Well,
I
hey,
don't.
you know what? Go find out.
I'll
Yeah.
go. I'll go search.
Overcome.
Yeah.
Go look. Right,
So
there's
now
also-
I'm embarrassed, and I have to ride the 90-second wave of embarrassment. So
I don't think you're embarrassed at all. Never be embarrassed on the Fox then. That's for sure. We're too laid back for that. But
Yeah.
all of our social medias, I don't know what Clubhouse is, but you are a part of Clubhouse. I've never heard of that.
it's an audio one. It was super big at the beginning of the pandemic, and then as soon as people started to get together again, it kind of
Oh,
tanked.
no, because usually Mama D's my social media stuff. You know, she'll tell me.
Clubhouse is new for me. It just gives me work to look into. Let's go.
Okay.
Is this something that would be appropriate for my 13-year-old daughter?
The book, yes. That would be appropriate for you as a parent to understand, and then appropriate for you to work with your daughter on it as well. Yes, I had a friend of mine actually sent me a picture 2 or 3 years ago. I think something, and he bought it. It was the Christmas present for the whole family. So everybody's in the same colored pajamas holding the book, but he had a 9 or 10-year-old at that point, and the 9 or 10-year-old was reading the book.
Nice.
So it's totally appropriate for an early teen.
Oh yeah, because you can avoid all this stuff that normal adolescents would
Right.
go through, and you don't even have to. So
Yep.
it's
You can handle it way
what I
different.
love about today. And shows like this. Yes, Mama.
The gifts are the Rosenberg Reset, a printable PDF guide to Dr. Rosenberg, 90-second reset, one choice, 8 feelings, 90 seconds. Confirmation prep checklist, a printable
that's right.
PDF confirmation of the 8 steps to engage in difficult conversations, and the audio excerpt from 90 seconds to a life you love. Little Brown. Dr. Rosenberg narrates the exciting introduction that explains the 90-second reset.
There we
Those are
go.
the 3 free gifts. Get your ass in gears, people.
Sharon says her 15-year-old rolls her eyes.
She can roll her eyes, or she can develop a lifelong skill at 15.
Yeah. This is something that I think that Gina's like amazed at. Listen, I have to get the book, so guys, just give me time. By the sounds of it, this is something that we wish we had when we were younger. So if you want to do your child a major mega thumbs up,
Yeah.
If nothing else, give it to them and leave it on their desk, leave it somewhere so they can see it.
Well, one of the things that I've actually said to my graduate students is the better you get at handling unpleasant feelings, the better you get at life.
Yeah.
I know.
So the earlier a child can understand, an earlier child can manage his or her emotional experience, the better they're going to be as they develop, right? As they age. So it can have a very profound effect. It's like helping a child learn how to understand and handle disappointment. Being on a soccer team that loses or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Being able to help that child understand how to handle disappointment and to persevere. And that gets repeated in different domains, or disappointed in a peer group setting. And they know how to handle that. Then that's a lifelong skill that's going to change how they make their choices in life.
And I agree with that 100%. And this is why this angers me, what they do with kids today, small kids, that everybody gets a trophy, right? I seriously do not wholeheartedly, I'm sorry for all you people that do, but I do not stand by that, because, we're not all meant to be athletes, say for an athletic thing. Okay. We're not all meant to be athletes, but that one that does excel, he should be, or she should be praised, put up there. They worked hard for it. They could be training constantly. and then here comes little Miss woo-hoo-hoo, and and she's going to get the same trophy. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's like, and now you're avoiding the emotions of losing said trophy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
I
we
never
need to
got
start a
trophies in
wave.
school.
We need to start a wave of no trophies for everybody.
Okay. All right.
I think it's because there have been, it's, for me, the way I see it, it's because parents at home teach their children one way, and then the schools, when they get to school, say, well, little Gina's really good, but she tries her best, and there's nothing wrong with trying your best, but we want our children to feel as, like, hey, yeah, you're doing your best, keep it up. But then there are parents out there who go, you're okay, you did your best, but you could have da, 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 da. And then that makes, I'm sorry, but that's like, that's hurts the kids more than just saying, just keep trying, forget the damn but. Because I've heard too many parents do that, going, you gotta see, but if you'd have studied harder, you're gonna gotta be like, dude, just celebrate her C, hers or his C.
Right. Yeah.
Just don't give them that but. So when they get that at home, then at school they're trying to make them want to. So I mean, it's I've seen it done. So it's like, yeah, okay.
For instance, my daughter Jess. She high honors all the time.
Mm-hmm.
She would kick herself if she got an A-. She would be pissed, and she would lock herself in a room and study and this and that and beat herself up. And I'm like, my God, stop, and be so worried she would make herself sick over tests. I'm like, don't worry about, you always pass them. Don't worry so much. You're gonna be fine. And if you get a B, so what? Oh my God,
the world is coming to an end. Yeah.
And then my daughter Jess, she was like crazy, and my daughter Jackie, and she was always in sports. They're both in sports, okay? Jessie, go get them all the time. Always go, go, go. And she was always on the best teams. They always won the trophies because they were the best teams. My poor daughter Jackie was always on the worst teams. She was those ones with the Fruit Loops that were picking flowers out in the fields and whatnot instead of playing ball, and she really wanted the trophies because my other daughter was getting them. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, She was so frustrated. Again, she would, and then she would have to work, I would say, like 4 times as hard to get as good a grades as my daughter, who would kill herself to get those grades. She didn't need to kill herself over emotionally.
Right.
And it was like, I didn't know what to do. If I had a book
like
this, all right, all of that could have been avoided.
This is true.
From the get-go, I would have known what to do.
So we need this book in all high schools, in all middle schools in the States, but in high schools,
from
7th, 8th grades.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure Little Brown would like that too. No, it's I know what I put in the book, and I do think that there are a great number of things that would make a very big difference in how people lead their lives based on if they implemented a lot of what I wrote.
Yeah. And you repeat over and over and over again that you could have done, you could go on about this,
Yep.
And are you planning on a book that does go on about this?
Yeah, there are plan. I mean, I do have plans. I have to reach out and get another agent, and my agent stopped agenting, and so I do want to write a book on speaking. There's a chapter on speaking up. That if I mean, at this point, having now the book being out for a while, and having an opportunity to talk repeatedly and teach from it, because all the ideas are coalesced in one place now, where people can get it all at once. I can see where the gaps are.
Yeah.
And so for me, what I've done is distilled the pathway to building confidence down to 5 major steps.
Mm.
And there's much more to it, but those 5 are pretty critical.
It's
A top 5.
it's more than a stepping stone. It's like the whole foundation plus a knee wall. Okay. Now, if you want the rest of it.
Yeah. So the 5 steps are, and again, my big question is, how does somebody develop confidence? Because even as a clinician, as a psychologist, as much as I could see somebody needed to develop it, I couldn't tell them how to do it.
Yeah.
Because nobody was saying this is how you develop confidence. My book is really centered on this is how you develop confidence. So the 5 most major things are, one is that you can experience the whole range of what you feel, right?
Mhm.
Particularly unpleasant feelings. The second, and I'll dial it in a moment a little bit more to this one, is that you speak with ease. That you feel like you have the capacity to say what you want to say, where you want to say it, to whom, with whom, but with one caveat. And the caveat is that it needs to be kind and well-intentioned.
Yeah.
Just because you can speak up more easily does not give you license to be mean or to tell your truth when somebody's not ready to hear it. Right? So I want you telling your truth more and more and more, but I want you to do it with that one.
Yeah.
And I will say that as much as dealing with unpleasant feelings is the foundation of my work, I will tell you that if it weren't, speaking up would be.
Yeah.
That's how, because I think that when we have the capacity to speak with ease, and this means now expressing the full range of what we think and feel, pleasant and unpleasant, because I want to be able to turn to somebody and say, hey, I like you. I'd really love to spend more time with you. Right. I want to be able to say those things as much as I want to say, you know what, that really bummed me out when such and such happened.
Right.
I wish you wouldn't do that, or I wish you would do it differently. So,
and
that's cause for raise or whatever.
Yeah. If you get to that point and speak your truth, right?
Yeah.
Without harm, right? That's relationships. That's work. That's everywhere.
It's
mother, daughter, son.
That's where I want to write the next book. And the beauty of it is that I actually think when we speak, it changes our molecules. I don't have a way to prove it, but I actually think that's the thing that actually really is the thing that changes us.
Because you feel different. You feel
exactly. So and then the third one is taking action. And both in the situation with speaking and with taking action, it's not that you're confident and then you speak. It's not that you're confident and then you take an action or take a risk. It's actually that you take the risk and you take the risk to speak, then you develop the confidence.
Yeah.
So it's counterintuitive. It works the opposite direction. The fourth is to end harsh self-criticism. I'm adamant about.
Yep. And you've got a big long list in there.
And then the fifth one is to truly accept compliments, because I think that has a real place. So those 5, right. but the follow-on material that would be on the speaking in particular.
I get it. And it's a perfect place to go. And get on that. We'll find you a. All right. We know a few people.
Okay. I'm listening.
We have enough people on this show that have written books. I mean, I'll see why not. We need to have a list of agents and publishers and stuff.
Works for me.
Send them out. Gina, get on that.
I have a list.
It has a list.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, one I'm crossing off that list because it's.
Yeah.
I've already ruled out for you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the help.
Yeah. But this information really solely just needs to be out there. It really does. But now you mentioned, now step 5 and the compliment thing. It is really hard to take compliments, and I don't know why that is too. is this something that was instilled in us since we were kids?
We're socialized not to. We're socialized not. Don't take that compliment. You're going to get a big head.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get conceited. It's arrogant. But a genuine compliment. That's not the way I see compliments. And so I think I don't want somebody complimented when they're not. I mean, it's not genuine. I'm talking about genuine compliments. The thing here's how I look at compliments. Compliments to me are a reflection of you back to you. It's like me holding up a mirror and saying either to you, Mama D, or you, Gina, this was my experience of you, or this was my experience with you.
Okay.
Not that it's not pulling from the, out of the blue or some vacuum someplace. That's not the way it works. It comes out of an experience of you and with you. So when I hold up that mirror and say, whoa, wow, when you played that piece on the piano, I was so moved, right? You're such an excellent piano player, or whatever I say, right?
Yeah.
It's because it's coming out of an experience with you or of you.
Right.
So if you deny my reality of it, then you're actually denying your reality.
Yeah. And demeaning you at the same time, actually, kind of like demeaning to you too. Like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Right. But then the more you dismiss and dismiss and dismiss, the less new information you have to up-level your sense of self or self-image. So part of what I think compliments allow people to do when they really take them in is to go, oh, wait a minute. God, I've been told this so much by so many people over X amount of time. I actually really need to see myself differently.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now you're updating and up-leveling your sense of self because you're accepting compliments. And that's what I think the role of compliments are supposed to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so like when I tell, sorry, hang on a second. So when I tell Gina the work that she does on the boxes that she creates for paranormal investigation tools, and she goes, it's like, no, girl, the stuff that people buy it, not just for what's working on the inside, but for the beauty of the work that you put into it on the outside. And she's, no, meh.
There you go. You're right. You got it. You caught her. Yep.
Got it. I got it.
And here's the interesting thing too, because when people go, well, I don't want to sound too arrogant or whatever. It's like, my thing with that is anybody who sounds arrogant and they have to tell you 15 times or 17 times how great they are not feeling it. It's the opposite. So when you hear somebody behave like that, just know that they're not coming from a place that actually feels very good. They're actually
faking it until they make it.
Or not even.
I'm never going to get
they're not. People who feel really good about themselves don't have to tell you. They just what they do what I call live the good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just oh, thank you.
But I think we all do that to a certain extent. To like, Gina will compliment me on my stuff that I do, my paintings that I do, and she's like, yes, and I get it, but it's like, for me in my head, I'm like, and I understand where she comes from. For me in my head, I'm like, because I'm my own worst critic. We are our own worst critic. Yes, it's an amazing painting. Yes, it's an amazing box, but I could have done something better. You put your own butt in there. People don't have to put that butt in there for you. And it's hard for me, because I have to talk about myself. It's hard for me to accept that what I do is
matters.
It matters. It's great at the moment, but I see what I. Yeah.
So
are you willing to?
I'm a fine artist, and she's a paint pour. I can't do what she does. She can't do what I do. But that's what vive la différence, right? That is why we have the different talents, because it's needed.
Yeah. So the thing that I like to play with a little bit is so just for the heck of it, for both of you, stop and think about the last 5 to 10 compliments you've received. Just and and notice what would happen if you allowed yourself to actually genuinely just take them in. Notice how your experience of yourself would change.
Hmm.
Okay.
It
So,
just feels
that's just the last
Yeah.
5 or 10. Now, here's the thing that I think is really cool. I think compliments are timeless.
Yeah.
So you could go back, I don't know, months, years, decades,
Mm.
and you could pull up those same compliments, but I would raise the same question.
right.
Who
Well,
would
that's
you
the same.
who would you have become if you actually allowed yourself to take in those compliments when they were given to you?
Yeah.
Oof. Right.
Oof. Yeah, oof is right.
I know. Because, I mean, being an artist, right? My art teacher actually followed me through every single school. If I left a school, she left a school just to be with me. And I came in class one day, smart ass as I was. My arm was wrapped up in a thing. I had hurt my wrist. And I said, I can't do any work today. And she said, you have another hand. Right? I was like, oh. So I did a still life with my left hand. It came out amazing. She actually put it into the Art Institute of Boston for me and got me a scholarship from a thing I did with left hand. It, but at the time, and I didn't take all the compliments, all that accolades I was getting for artwork. I didn't, it wasn't sinking in. Like my life could have definitely turned out a lot differently. I was asked to do a lot of murals back then. I didn't because I was like I didn't have the confidence to do it.
And doing it would have given you the confidence.
Right? Like professionally. But then when I finally started doing it, many years later, and I have hospital murals and stuff like that now out there, and it's like she would have been so proud of me, if she lived to see that, and because that's what she always wanted. And I feel like I disappointed her. And that's another really big emotion thing on me that, I need to work through to get over that, like I disappointed her. She put so much effort into me and I just didn't believe it, but I disappointed her. So,
Yeah, I don't know that I would necessarily take it to that. Maybe you did. I'd be more inclined to think that she saw potential in you that you couldn't see for yourself,
Yeah.
yeah.
and that you weren't in a place to accept it at that point, and to live into it when she was telling you about it.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
able to live into it later.
Yeah, not me,
Yeah.
There's other people
Yeah,
that
let me just put something over the mirror. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
not me.
yeah, yeah. But then it's like I totally flipped it. I was like, you know what? Why am I like that? And I was like, no, I'm gonna go for this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. As soon as I started putting myself out there and doing it, and even in construction, it's like it took off. It was crazy, and people loved it. And they loved my designs. They liked the way that I worked. And, I'm like very anal, very OCD anal. And a hard boss. I was a very hard boss, because, you got to be one woman in construction. You got to be, right? And especially if you know what you're talking about.
And the thing is, she's as hard on herself as she is with her employees, whoever she works with. She's not, because there was somebody, I can't remember who it was, that said, your employees, you put too much emphasis on your employees. You expect your employees to do everything that you do, even though you're not paying them what you as the boss gets paid, type of thing. It's not their business. But Gina's the type of person who, she'll go out there. Okay, when I first met Gina on Facebook, she was talking about shoveling snow and raking the lawn. And it's like, she it was a long time. That was back in Massachusetts.
Wow.
Yeah. She would complain about having, to do all this over and over, and the leaves would fall down, and she'd go out and have to. But the thing is, she was proud of the size of her lawn, the beauty of her lawn. So to get that, she would do this. But she's as difficult on herself to have somebody else come up and mow her lawn, she's like, okay, this is what I want done, and this is it. But if she's going to have to do it herself, she's going to do the exact same thing, and be just as hard, if not harder, on herself to get it done. So she's like, she's a bully to herself. Not a bully to her staff, but to herself. She's like, she's harder on herself than she is to anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will talk to myself, like you in the book, you mentioned,
Oh, yeah.
right, about saying stuff to yourself by name.
Right. Yep.
And I will do that, I'll be like, but I'll say stuff like, Gina, you stupid idiot. Why did you do this? Right? You know better. Right? And
Oh, God, yes.
It's not the direction we wanted to go. We wanted to go the other direction.
Nope. But that's, and reading this, and I'm like, yeah. So now I could have reworded that so many different ways, using my name, and saying, okay, well, you did do this, but next time maybe try that. You know what but in the moment, in the heat of the moment, the one emotion that I can really grasp on all these things, on my little chart here, right? The one that's on the plus side over here, anger. I got that one down, but I can grasp that. I can understand that. I can wrap my hands around that. I verbalize that. I don't have a problem with that. That one, I think I've mastered.
I like this one. Mary Jane says, when Logan does that, I remind him his words have power.
And that's the thing right there, is the words that you use are so important. And
we're so careful on what we say to other people that we forget that we are people too, that we need to have, be gentle with ourselves as well. Right. Like, I'm going to say, it's an amazing painting you did, darling, and just shut up and let it go. But I can't. I can't. My head is still saying the other half of that.
Practice. But that's why you have worksheets. You have things to work through. You have, okay, she does this thing. Okay, the one I just gave you that example of before, of where do you fall within these things. Difficult conversation grid.
Yes.
Okay. You can really get into this, into relationships, into work, into whatever. You write down your dates, and it's like accuses me of not caring, right? This blames me, changes what he said, she said, repeats himself. All these things. Okay, you can write down your dates. This goes weeks, months, right? Mm-hmm. And you write down all these things. Like, there are so many worksheets in here. So bloody many, okay, that you can work through all these things and understand and get to accept these. This book is going to help me so much.
I'm so glad.
Right? I'm going to have to get everything.
There's a resilience, attitude, intention, and action checklist, okay? And it's like you mark things with an H to things that you can say you hold, and things with a D that you need to develop or want to develop. And for instance, number one is every experience in my life is or can become a learning opportunity. All right, these are key things. All right, every single one of these is like, whoa, in itself. Okay, but this one I wrote. I hold that because I've learned that every experience, good, bad, or indifferent, happens for a reason, and it's happening to make us stronger, right? So I can say, yeah, I hold that. One I have to develop is, right, growth is my focus, and every challenge I face is an opportunity to learn and grow. Now, that's a little different, all right? So the words are key. How you worded that. It's like, yeah, okay, all right, I can hold part of that, but no, I need to develop that further, because it's like taking the first initial thing that you said to the next step.
Yep.
It's like, okay, yes, I do need to develop that more. So there's a lot of this stuff makes you look at yourself, code of high values grid. I mean, seriously, you're really digging. You're digging into yourself. It's amazing. It's tough work. It's not in a day. It's like as soon as you get done reading the book, you just want to start again, so that it starts sinking in, and then you want to start doing
Me and my OCD, I have to read the whole thing. Like
Yeah, no, I think there's a colleague of mine, I think, that said that she's either on the 5th time or 9th time of reading,
Wow.
of going through it. And she listens to it as well as does the reading stuff with it. So I'm just very grateful.
it's wonderful. It's really, truly wonderful, to point out so many key things and so many things like, I've read books like, that kind of touch on what you're doing. Never to this extent.
Mm.
For what, almost 300 pages, you've got like 1,000 pages worth of info in there, just in the checklist, just that, and I'm telling you, you guys would have to be living under a rock or on another planet if they're not going to relate. And that's it in a nutshell. You know what? Hey, it is after 9 o'clock, and there's no.
Somebody's late.
Yeah, you send her a message and see what's going on.
I will.
All right, because I just noticed that. I'm like, oh my gosh, she usually you get this little pink, and there's Athena coming. Oh, I'm getting a message. Oh, she's rushing. Okay, she's still coming. Okay. Athena will be with us, so I don't want to get into any too heavy conversation before she comes in, and she's going to talk about her crystal of the week. But this now, do you have children?
I don't. No.
All right.
I would say I would say I've raised a lot of kids over 20.
I bet.
Yeah.
But I don't have any biological children of my own. No.
You maybe want to go to Pepperdine. How long have you been teaching at Pepperdine?
Since 2005.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, that's fabulous.
Yeah. That's
in the intro, Gina said that you were where did it go? You have military in your background.
I was in the Air Force. That's correct.
Okay, so hopefully this is I don't know.
We can talk about it.
Okay, so where did you go from what was it that you did in the Air Force that brought you into writing this book? How did that help you?
I wouldn't say that the Air Force helped me write the book.
Okay.
I did as part of a graduate program in psychology. When someone is training to be a psychologist, they have to do a year-long internship or residency, just like physicians do. But it's a year, unless they want to specialize, and then they have to go on and do other stuff. So my year was my last year of my graduate program. I was in the Air Force as a psychologist in a training program there.
Okay.
And then I owed them 2 years because I was being paid for that year. And then part of the agreement was that I would stay in another 2 years after I left. That went to 3 years, an obligation of 3 years back. But so it was part of my training, and then I ended up I was in the reserves after I left active duty. I was in the reserves 2 separate times. So I think it's a total of 10 years of service in the Air Force.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
My daughter joined right from high school and just retired after 22 years in. But she joined the Army first and then switched to the Air Force. And then
it's a different experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
The 2 services are very different.
She didn't when she joined, it was all shock and awe, and she got deployed, and I'm like, oh my God, she's just getting sick of getting deployed too. Right. And how they treated you, you know. Yeah. So she loved the Air Force. Loved.
Yeah. No, well, the myth of the Air Force is that they treat their people way better than the other services, and it's not a myth. It's true.
It is true. It is true. She was so much happier she stayed in. She kept re-enlisting, and now she finally she retired. She's done great. She's got her master's through in the Air Force too. You know, so very, very. And she works for the VA still. So she does when people do like intakes and things like that, and they want to get their benefits. she evaluates those and, deem you worthy
Right.
of your benefits.
Yeah.
So, what's this one? Nice Navy airman disabled.
Gotcha.
Oh, you are? You were in the Navy, Sharon? I didn't know that. I did not know that about you. I thought I knew almost everything about you. Huh.
She always keeps a little tidbit hidden from you.
I know.
There you go.
Not nice to keep things from me.
Gina finds out one way or another, and she found out today on the phone. I know.
Yeah. So still no Athena. That's all right. Well,
We'll just keep going, and we'll just deal with the Athena when she gets here, and we'll scold her. I will. I'll just give her that Mama D look on.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we've sort of brushed on, and is where we need to speak our voice.
Yes.
And I know that, like, for me as a child, I was told, like, don't speak unless you're spoken to. If somebody hasn't asked, because my parents were in cubbing and scouting, and I was a troublemaker. Okay, I'm a redhead.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that I find a lot of parents, a lot of us at this age realize, like, that's what my parents did to me. They didn't mean any harm. They didn't realize what it would do to things. So I hoped that I changed that for my children, but it's difficult because there's two parents raising children.
Yep.
So, like, I can say, like, go ahead, say what you got to say. And my husband might say, I don't want to hear that shit.
Right.
I'm not saying that's what it is, but just using that as an example. So how can we help our children to sort of not be afraid so much when you have a partner who is, like, kind of sort of like the complete opposite to what you would do?
Well, I think there's at least two parts to your question.
Mm-hmm.
One is understanding, in my mind, is understanding what contributes to people not speaking up.
Right.
And then the second part is how to work stuff out with a partner to make it so that you're on the same page with something as opposed to not on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
To the first part, it's very interesting. And remember, I was somebody who didn't speak up. I was super shy. And what I realized, again, along this journey is that difficulty speaking up isn't a speaking problem. And it's like you got to wrap your head around that.
It's in your.
At least I did. It's like difficulty speaking up is not. What do you mean it's not a speaking problem? It's not. Difficulty speaking up is a difficulty with unpleasant feeling problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so if I step back from it, well, like, okay, how do I look at it? I look at that, and I talk about it in the book too, that in order to have a conversation, I have to be willing to deal with the discomfort of my own emotional discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
8 unpleasant feelings.
Right. Like you give the example of that the guy who went out and sang, who loved singing.
Yes.
Right? So he goes out on stage, he sings a whole song, he comes out, he's feeling fabulous, he comes back and someone says, "Oh, you should be embarrassed, you sang that so flat."
Exactly.
And he never sang again.
He never sang public.
Loved.
Right. Yep.
Yep.
So exactly. So that we have to then deal with the emotional outcome. So if we're in a conversation, not only do I have to deal with the discomfort of my emotional discomfort, I have to do that simultaneously with dealing with the discomfort or anticipated discomfort of your emotional discomfort.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So it's not about speaking.
Yeah,
it's about dealing with the feelings that are likely to surface.
That little wheel running around in your head.
Exactly. So that really, to me, is kind of the first part of it is having, and in this case, it would be with kids, because you were referencing kids too, in terms of bringing them up. It would be helping children understand that it's not a getting the words out problem.
Right.
It's a dealing with the feelings problem.
Yeah.
And so you want to be able to help a child or an adult be able to have that understanding, so that they can actually speak. The other thing that I will say is that I've also started to talk much more about that both dealing with our feelings, our ability to deal with our feelings, as well as our ability to speak, communication in general, are skills. And they're skills like any other skill. So that means you have to practice them to get good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or to get good at good or more effective at that experience. So that would be the one of the other things I would say is that it's super important to speak so that you can get better at speaking.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. And Athena is here. So
Okay.
we're going to pick up this conversation here.
Okay, just a quick note. Previously, when I would speak in public, I would get like major butterflies. When I was doing the conversation, during the main speaking, I was okay. But then the moment I was done, the butterflies would come back. Thankfully, I've sort of the butterflies have kind of sort of calmed down because now I do this all the time.
Yeah, so for me, that's the experience of vulnerability.
Yeah.
But we can come back to that. Go ahead.
Okay, all right.
Hello, love. So wonderful to be back for our crystal segment of the week. I am Athena Barry, Reiki master, author, and I have my new Oracle deck, Raise Your Vibes crystal cards. I'll give you a little preview, but I'm so grateful to be back here. I feel like I've really missed you all. And so let's dive in with our crystal of the week, which is rose quartz. And this one, of course, I felt resonated for the show, especially the title of the book today, because rose quartz, of course, is all about the love. Now, this one is most connected and most known as being connected with our heart chakra, but it can also work to activate all of our chakras because it's all about the love. Love is the highest vibration. So when you work from a place of love, that in tune, everything from your heart, it works above as it works below. And it creates that beautiful balance, that wellness of spirit. Now, unconditional love, which is a big symbolism of rose quartz here, is not only meant for, others and how you feel about others, but it's also so important for yourself and that self-love, unconditionally loving yourself, through the highs, the lows, the goods, the bads, the shadow, the light, all of it. This helps you to remember to also be kind and loving to you as well. Now, because love is the highest vibration, working with rose quartz helps to draw off any negativity, negative energy, and replaces that with that loving vibration of kindness, compassion, empathy, calm, serenity. As we were just saying, when you're talking at spiritual events or, public speaking, vibrating that beautiful energy of love helps you also to communicate what's inside and what means most to you. So it kind of releases that fear, releases that negative energy so you can step forward and be that confident, beautiful, loving person that you are and that you deserve to shine as. Rose quartz has been used as a recovering tool for issues with the physical heart as well, stimulating blood circulation and gently stabilizing any kind of heart trauma, whether that's emotional, physical, or spiritual, and aligning any imbalances that you have going on, especially when you're dealing with older traumas or past events that you're, kind of carrying forward into the now. Rose quartz is a beautiful palm stone, and this one I have in the shape of the heart. So it's great for your meditations. It feels amazing in between your palms. Wonderful for beginners, especially when it's difficult to get kind of settled into, that clear mind state. It gently eases you into your daily practice with that beautiful, loving energy. And for our crystals, Raise Your Vibe crystal cards, it is, of course, number 31 and all about the love. Ways you can use this stone. I love it as jewelry. I always have this one on, or so often have this one on. I love to keep them in my bra, tucked in. I love to keep them in my pocket, in my crystal grids. They're wonderful when my clients are dealing with issues of love or past traumas. Likewise, under your pillow, it's great to sleep with it. And then also just keeping with you to help guide you on your path from a place of love. Because when you're working from love, you really cannot go wrong or misstep. So you'll also see this as jewelry a lot of the time. You'll see this, you'll see it as pendulums a lot when you're asking for questions. So if you ever wanted to work with a pendulum or pendulum, as some say, rose quartz is a really good option for that too. And of course, I love to leave you with a wonderful affirmation to help you connect with, where did I put it? Your crystal's energy. And our mantra for the day is, I love and accept all that I am and can be. I am loved. Thank you so much, ladies. I hope that this has brought some value to your show and resonates for everyone there in the audience. And wonderful to see you all, of course. Oh, and I can't even hear you. Ah, there we are. Now I can hear you.
I'm muted. I have to unmute people. Okay, we were muted.
There we go.
We were down below, so we
Gina kept mute on. She's one here.
I had a moment where I was like, oh my God, am I muted?
I would have told you.
It has happened.
It has happened. So Athena, this is Joan, Athena.
Hello, Joan. So lovely to see you. I caught a little bit of the beginning there. Love, of course, the title of your book and the message that you're bringing across to others to help them heal on their journey.
Thank you. It was also beautiful to listen to your little description of the rose quartz.
Thank you. Thank you. I love this one. Oh, and of course, she's got her rose quartz on. Yes, yes. I wore the bracelet. And then for Mary Jane, I wore the my little love bead from David Pramol. Love this. Nice. This one is all about releasing attachments and anything that's not serving you. So nice. If you're in the market for something with David Pramol, yes, I love her. She's amazing. We were talking about her earlier. So
beautiful.
This was for her.
This is the beautiful bracelet that I'm wearing that Athena got.
Oh, I love it. With the little baby owls and the foxes.
The owls. She's the owl and the fox, and she's the butterfly.
She's the butterfly. She's got the little onyx. And I have my kitty in here. He's not showing himself now. I thought you were gonna see Minx. He was hanging out by the door, but not today. Maybe next time.
Yep.
At least he was quiet. He wasn't ripping anything.
Yes. That's always a good thing. But we're pet friendly, so it's okay.
Yes, of course. Well, loves, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure, of course, always to be here. And I'm sorry I missed you last week. And hopefully I stay COVID free for next week. We'll see how it goes.
That's all we care.
We've got it running around the house. So
that's all we care.
Holding on to my love as the highest vibration. Keep me elevated and healthy.
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. All right, loves. Well, I will leave you to it. Joan, so wonderful to meet you and wishing you loads of success with your new book.
Thank you so much.
Of course. All right.
I love you. Bye. Oh, she's just great, isn't she?
It's very informative.
Yeah, she started out as a guest on the show, and then we just don't let her go.
Okay.
That's how it works with Gina.
That's the way it works.
Gina, I was just a temporary co-host that's dried up because we've been on each other's shows, and it's like 2 years later, I'm still here.
That's great.
But too much.
Yeah. She got the mug. She can't go anywhere now.
Oh, no, it's just
all right. So we have a whole bunch of comments that
George is an incomplete. Let's just put it out there for the world to know. He says that our four perfect faces for the back, the posters in the back of the post office, and George, you'd be there too.
Oh yeah,
George is
the gang leader. So,
Yes,
so
exactly.
yeah. So before Athena came on, do you remember what you were talking about?
The speaking. Oh, that was my-
Speaking up.
Speaking up. So I want to kind of continue that, and I think I think speaking up too. Like right now, I want to speak up about another point that you make though in the book about people,
Okay.
and conversations, and relationships. You wrote, and a lot of people do this. Like they keep this baggage from past traumas
Mhm.
and past relationships and drag it forward and drag it forward. And it's like, no, you can't do that because it's a new person. It's like, or it's like taking the blueprint, right?
Right. Yeah. New blueprint.
Blueprint
Yeah.
over and over.
Right.
But new person, new blueprint every time.
Right.
I mean, I think that should be a bumper sticker.
Okay.
So I'm like, yeah, this is great. There's a lot of neat quotes in here that I really love that you've done. Again, it's like, these moments.
Yeah. Yeah. What ends up happening is that again, depending on how we were raised and the nature of our life history, oftentimes we go into the next new situation just anticipating we're going to be treated the same way we were treated in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
it's not true. It's not true. There's a new person if they don't know anything about your history is actually unlikely to repeat what you experienced.
Yeah.
And so that's why and I was watching this particular client do that. I mean, it was as if, in fact, I got up. I physically got up. I was face to face with her at the time and acted like I had a sheet in my hand and then said, okay, so here you are at 7, here you are at 10, here you are at 14, here you are at 21, here you are at 35. And each time it's as if you're handing the person the blueprint and say, here, treat me this way.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's how I was treated in the past. But it's not true. So that's when I said kind of new person, new blueprint. You have to wait. You've got to engage with them
Yeah.
and find out that they're not going to treat you the way that your mom and dad
Right.
treat you.
But don't keep it
Yeah.
in here either. Speak
Right.
up, right?
Right.
Say,
Yes.
well, in the past, I've been treated like this. So, make your thoughts and your feelings known.
Correct.
Right? So
Yes.
instead of, because we always think like miraculously they're supposed to know this.
Right. Well, a lot of people. That's interesting. It's a very interesting point you're making. A lot of people in relationships believe the other person should be able to mind read what's happening.
Exactly.
I'm serious. I mean, I wish it's that they don't want it. And why? Because they don't want to be vulnerable enough to say the thing that needs to be said so that they want the other person to mind read it. Well, you should know that about me.
Yeah.
No, that's not the way it works in relationships. You actually have to speak it.
Right. Yeah.
Totally understand that.
Yeah. You got to tell them, and don't anticipate what they're thinking either.
Correct.
Because I've learned my lesson 500 million times with Bob.
Right.
Whatever he thinks I think, never. Never. So it's like, Bob, if you're really seriously thinking that I would think that way, just flip it to the other side and there I am. All right. And I'm the same way with him. Like I'll be like, well, you really don't, you don't get this. You don't understand what I'm saying. And it's like, no. So then you have to explain it. And it's like, oh, okay. But you can't assume.
Yeah. Communication is. We all have to learn how to communicate. Not just the thing is, a lot of us, and I put myself in there too, is a lot of us don't actually hear what people are saying. We listen, but we don't hear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to say this, this, and this, and expect them to know all the I have 4 lines to say,
right.
but I want to know, they should be able to read between the lines.
Yeah.
And it's not, we need to voice, put voice to between the lines as well.
Exactly.
Also, it would be depending on where you are in your life. Right? A teenager views things, an adolescent views one way, a teen views another way, someone in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever stage you are in your life as to where your comfort zone is too with yourself. But you're gonna hear what you need to hear. You can say the same sentence to all of those said people. Okay, they're all gonna say something different back to you
because you're all going to hear it differently.
Right.
but you account for that in the book too. Not everyone's gonna say the same answer, because guess what, they're not all you.
Right.
So this is where you're gonna learn about you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna change. So this is the thing that's you have to, like, if you want to change, this is the way to do it. And this is it, man. This is the key right here, and I haven't read a book. When I get excited about books, I always read the books. I've got books here. I got a bunch of books I got to read for the upcoming shows. And, I get excited about the ones that I know are gonna help the most people.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm excited. All right. I'm excited. It's the one. All right. It's the one that will continue to help too. It is. As soon as you get done reading it, you want to start over.
Yeah.
And I read the books for the show, but now I'm like reading the book to do the book, So, and then I did, and I
out there in my future, and then I will be reading the book.
Good.
Yes, ma'am.
That I can read some to you.
Okay. You know how, because I'm the person who needs to, when I get a PDF, I love PDF because I can put it on my Kindle reader and have it voice read it to me.
Oh, right.
But I also follow it. I need to have both it in here and in my eyes. I love having books, but when I don't have the book, the PDF gives me both. It sinks in.
Nice.
It sort of sticks in here better. Got some Gorilla Glue in there.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But there's so many like little quotes that really, really stand out. And they did another one about feelings. They don't magically disappear. They change where they reside.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah, that one's actually a really important one. That also happens spontaneously during a session face to face. And that has to do with us holding in things that are important for other people to know, or if we're dealing with a conflict and we're actually not dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I was working with a client who was talking about, well, should I talk to this person about the thing I'm upset about or not? And I what I did was I grabbed a Kleenex and I threw it on the floor between us, and I said, that's the conflict that you're talking about. So and I said, now let's pretend that conflict's between you and me. So we can both sit there, we can kind of stand up, circle around it, we can talk about it, we can point at it, we can do a whole bunch of things. It's out in the open. The conflict is between us, and it's exactly where it needs to be. It's out in the open between.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And so pretend this is the Kleenex.
Okay.
So I bend down and I pick up the Kleenex from the floor, and I said, but if you don't talk about it, it's like you did this.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, the conflict hasn't gone away. All your thoughts and feelings about that haven't gone away. It's just where it resides.
Yeah.
So now you have this between conflict actually just residing in you.
Yeah.
But that's not where a between conflict needs to reside. A between conflict needs to reside
Velcro itself from you.
Between the people.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you don't resolve that one, it's going to pile and pile.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then someone's going to blow.
Exactly. And sometimes if you don't discuss it, you don't bring it up, then you kind of assume that what's going on is like, okay, Gina doesn't like me because my hair is red. And unless I speak to her about it, I'm not going to realize that that's not her issue. Her issue is she doesn't like me because my eyes are blue or something else. You kind of make that little problem into a much bigger thing
That's
if
it,
you don't
yeah.
discuss it.
Correct. Yes. And it doesn't go away. It just resides on the inside. So,
Exactly.
so now, as opposed to dealing with the unpleasantness that might occur between out in the open, now you're holding on to all that toxicity. Now this is, to me, this is where unpleasant feelings can then shift to more toxic states of feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because now you're getting into depression and
or bitterness or resentment or
yeah,
right.
and then you're gonna start getting those sick feelings and and
or actually it becomes anxiety.
Yes.
Anxiety, yeah. And
Because it's unexpressed.
Not good. Not
Right.
good.
Right. So I want between stuff to be out in the open between where it belongs.
Right.
That makes a lot
So,
of sense.
are you married? Are you in a relationship?
I'm in a relationship. Yeah, wonderful relationship.
Okay. And do you use all this like
Probably more open. What's happened for me over the years is I've gotten better at expression. So I would say, I mean, I can pick out the times that I was not good. Lots of times of not that I had stuff in my head, but it wasn't coming out my mouth.
yeah,
Mhm.
Right. And so I think as I've gotten older, as I've made more sense of the material that's in the book, as I've spoken more and more about it, I've basically started to embody it more and more.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm saying things way more than my partner wants to necessarily hear.
Mhm.
But,
right.
yeah.
I know, but what do you do? What do you do when they don't want to hear it?
For the way I do it, look, the first thing to understand, there's a couple of different things that are super important to me around the relationship stuff.
Mhm.
And I probably touch on it in the book, but again, that would be a whole nother unfolding of another layer of things to talk about. So from a relationship standpoint, kindness is my highest value.
Mhm.
And for a relationship, safety is the highest value. So my thing is that in relationships, it's super important to be kind and well-intentioned, because being kind and well-intentioned is what promotes the experience of safety.
Yeah.
Right. Because
Right?
you put that little nudge in that foundation, and it's just gonna poof. And it's like you
Right.
feel safe, secure, and sound.
Right.
And then you just say one thing.
Right.
Word in,
So when there is not that well-intentioned nature and there is not the kindness, then a relationship is always at some measure of strain.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening in particular, and to go to the speaking up in the relationship part of it, is if there are things that I think are going to be difficult to talk about, I say, I got a difficult question coming up.
Mhm.
Or I think this is a difficult conversation, but I want us to see if we can tackle it. And
you believe in mediators.
what's that?
Sometimes I think a mediator is necessary.
Yeah. Fortunately, there has not been a need for that. So
good for you.
There's a question or a comment or a statement in the chat room from Sharon. She says, "What if it's my own sister? Do I see her as a person, not as my sister? She hates me, and I really don't know why."
Well, I would, unless the hate is truthful, if that's accurate, my thing would be to say, look, to go to your sister, if it's appropriate. I can't possibly know that in terms of who you are and the history there, but if it's appropriate, it would be to turn to your sister and say, look, this is really hard for me. I don't like being estranged from you. I don't know what's really going on. Can we sit down and kind of figure this out and work it out so that we can remove the barriers that have kept us distant?
All right. Now, out of all these books here, this Mean Girls and Mean Women,
yes,
would that be appropriate for that?
No, that's really, I would say, more of a kind of a sociocultural look.
Okay.
So as opposed to a primer on kind of doing it in a relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, oh, I want to see what else you write. And I heard you have these 90 books and whatnot. This next book, though, is really going to is something that I'm going to want. And so I'm going to value you.
The next book I think is going to be. I hope it has the same kind of impact that this one is having. So
I would not doubt it. I mean, because it would have to be like what do you call it? Is it a codicil? Is that the right word? That goes with it, right?
and I feel like I can take some bigger risks and say things a little bit more boldly than I said in this one.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
So
because after you do this, you're ready for it, right? When you do these steps and everything, it's because you're always like, yeah, and you can see it too, where you say, well, there could be so much more, and it's like your mind starts going, yeah, oh yeah, I get it. I can see exactly where this is going, and maybe that's exactly where I need to be, because now I've mastered this, and I really, yeah, you got to get on that.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, Gina, you and I need to take that advice, because we have stuff that's in the works and a book in the works, and we just need to sort of take a break at some point, like one day a week maybe, and sit down and work on it, because I suck at working by myself. I need to have somebody that I work with. I used to have a friend that I would work with, that they would just be, we would just Skype, wouldn't have a conversation. I'd be like, and I have a question. And what about, not working together, but working together. But for me, I can't do it by myself, because then I'm like, then I get my squirrel brain goes somewhere else.
Yeah, you are my sister. Stop keeping things from me, Sharon. I didn't know you were in the Navy. No more secrets. There's no secrets. No secrets in the Fox Den. We will find out.
We will sniff it out.
Now, you talk a lot about being resilient. Okay.
Yes.
Now, what does it take to develop resilience?
I would say the thing to understand about resilience is that it's learnable. It's teachable or learnable or developable or whatever the correct words are for that.
Develop.
You can develop it. It's not that you have it at an early age and that's that. You can develop it even if you've had a difficult life history. And I think of resilience really as comprised of, there's action steps to take, but I also think of it as significantly comprised of attitudes and beliefs. So I think that there's a style of thinking. It's actually this is not in the book because it came up later as I was talking about this. And I think of it as resilient thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And that we can actually ask resilient questions. So if I start at the most basic level, to help our own resilience, it would be, you want good nutrition, you want good sleep, you want good supplements, you want good sunlight, you want good exercise, basics. Why? Because that's going to have a big effect on our day-to-day bounce back, our energy, and those kinds of things. And also thinking clarity. Then I would say there's kind of another layer. So actually, to add in, we've talked about a couple of these already. One is that it's being able to actually experience and move through those 8 unpleasant feelings.
Right.
And the second part of it, because I attach this to what I call emotional strength, is our ability to ask for help. We've talked about that. So both of those are super important to be resilient. Yeah. You can handle the unpleasant outcomes of things, the undesired, unpleasant outcomes of things, emotional outcomes, and you can ask for help. Going to help you be resilient. That's great. Another layer then is things like prayer, meditation,
Yeah.
some faith-based practice, or some other kind of contemplative practice, somebody doing martial arts, somebody doing yoga, all those kinds of things are things that people can do to kind of supplement and again build up their level of awareness and their ability to respond effectively in situations. And then we get to the attitudes and beliefs part of it. And with the attitudes, and you talked about a couple of them earlier, it's like I have been through difficult times before, and I can persevere like I did then. But that's an attitude that you can hold. I've been through tough times, and I was made for this. Or persistence and perseverance are like high values of mine. It's just attitudes or a belief that you hold, and the more you say that to yourself, the more you lean into it. Or again, you mentioned the one where every experience becomes a learning experience. Well, then or sometimes I've said that when I'm going through some tough times, there are times that I'll say to myself, well, damn, this is going to make a good story at some point.
Yes.
Right. You gotta write it down.
Right. But that's enough to help me make it through whatever the thing is. But
It's kind of like having a gratitude list. I wanted to bring that up earlier when you were saying, compliments from the past or whatever. It is like that. Whenever you're down and depressed, I'm always saying, well, what are you grateful for? What are the things you have? Do you have a roof over your head? Do you have a job? Do you have food in your refrigerator? I mean, what is it? Do you have an animal? All right. What are you grateful for? You know?
That's a great one.
All of that, and once you start feeling better and your esteem is boosted, then look at things differently.
Absolutely.
You're not looking at things with that dark cloud. You're not looking at things through the rain. You know? Why does this always happen to me? You know? And it's like, because you're putting it out in the universe, that it's going to happen to you. So it's going to happen to you. Right. So you got to put out in the universe, that positive affirmations, the positive feedback, the positive talk, all that stuff.
Yes.
And it's difficult because once you get into, people get into ruts. Yes. We have our grief thing. You have that disguised grief, right? That I want to talk about. But, it's easy. It's an easy emotion to fall into, and you just start tumbling and go down that hill of despair, But once you start, even with the smallest thing like a gratitude list, a friend, whatever, working through and doing this 90-second wave, right? Ride that emotion for a minute, all right? What's it going to do? Right? It's not going to kill you. It's going to make you stronger. So ride it, learn from it. And, then once that's done, you're already on that path up that hill again.
Right. That's correct. Yeah.
It's kind of a simple thing, when we procrastinate, feeling good. Why? Why do we do this? Is it like a nation even? It's like, I don't know. I do it myself,
Gratitude is a great practice.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah. And write it.
Yes, absolutely write it.
You can't write it, Mama. Record it.
I'm going to start a gratitude list daily. If 3 things, and that's not the same 3 things every day, I'm going to do it.
Awesome.
But you also have an evening ritual too, and it's like beginning of the day ritual, but also an evening ritual. At the end of the evening, review your day. Okay, all right. Where were the moments you could have handled better? Think of those situations, identify what you can learn from them, do a mental replay, with your desired response. All right, this is the type of stuff. Okay, so there's 7 things to do just at night when you go into bed to recap your day. How could I have made this better? Right?
And what were my wins?
And and it's like simple things to do throughout this entire book. It's like just mind blowing, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Hold on, wait a second. Wow, what is it? What happened here? Okay, we got a whole bunch of things. Tai Chi. Yes, Tai Chi is wonderful. What is that?
Feed off and determination.
Oh, like, what does that mean? I do that with my Finch app on my iPhone. Do what?
Probably do the gratitude and journaling. It's an app.
But I just...
Did you want to talk about the disguised grief? Or did you want
Yes, the disguised grief.
Yes.
So, what is it? What do people do with it? How can we get rid of it?
All in just a couple of minutes.
Yes. Yeah, you got 10 minutes.
I got it. So for me, a disguised grief is the grief that is a result of the gap between what we desired, what we needed, what we wanted, and what we really got.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. And you have lists on this.
I list. So it shows up in my world. It shows up in two major ways. It shows up through what I call grief signal words, which I'll mention in a moment. And it also shows up in 5 categories of grieving. That's how I hear people being in grief.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first thing to understand is, what is grief? And the way I look at grief is that it's at least 4 of the 8 feelings: sadness, helplessness, anger, and disappointment.
I feel vulnerability, I think, is in there.
Vulnerability can be in there too, but the 4 that I use more consistent, and that's fine. We can throw that in there too. But the 4 that I talk about most consistently are those 4: sadness, helplessness, anger, and disappointment. So whether we're experiencing sadness singularly or collectively with one or more of the other 3, then we're in grieving. So if I'm angry, I'm grieving. If I'm sad, I'm grieving. If I feel helpless, I might be in grief. If I feel disappointed, I'm grieving. Different way to look at it.
It is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So everyone thinks of grieving as just major loss of a loved one.
And that's not the way I look at it. Right. So let's go with the grief signal words first. So there's words like long-standing anger, holding a grudge, wanting revenge, jealousy, envy, bitterness, resentment, cynicism, pessimism. Every one of those words goes right past me as that word, and my head goes, oh, grief.
I know. Right? Like,
Yeah.
It's underneath all of those are one or more of the same 4: sadness, helplessness, anger, and disappointment. I didn't get what I wanted.
Right.
I'm jealous, or I'm envious. Right? Disappointment is underneath that.
Right.
Or cynicism or pessimism. Cynicism is preemptive disappointment.
I'm never gonna get what I want.
Pessimism. I'll be disappointed now in advance of the thing that I don't get later.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous.
It is, and it can go on and on and on.
Exactly. So same thing with resentment and bitterness, and that it's underneath. What's underneath that? The sadness, hopelessness, anger, and disappointment. So for me, how do I know that people are grieving? It's because I hear people use those grief signal words. The second are the categories, and the categories are we grieve over what we deserved and didn't get. Actually, what we got and didn't deserve, which is the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Abusive and neglectful and hurtful experiences, chaotic experiences. Yeah. We grieve over, this is where the categories come in, what we got and didn't, what we deserved and didn't get, and that would be the good stuff. So the praise, the nurturance, the consistent fairness, all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Somebody not showing up for games or swim meets or dance recital, it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
Or even marking progress. Good job on, I know you got a B, but I know that you put a ton of effort in it, right? It's the stuff we deserved and didn't get. It's grieving over what never was. So think of that as the facts and circumstances of our early life, the lost opportunities. Grieving over what is not now, and then grieving over what may never be.
Yeah.
So it's not simple stuff.
Nope.
But for me, and this is where really all the training and all the years of
90
practice as
million
a
hours.
psychologist. What's that?
The 90 million hours in.
Yeah, right. Whatever it is. The but that's where all that's come in because what I know to be true is that people can really make their way through difficult life experiences.
Mm.
And this is by understanding these grief categories in particular
Mm.
and dealing with the grief that's underneath these difficult life experiences
Yeah.
by understanding the impact and meaning the experience had across time. So in essence, who did I become because I went through this difficult experience? Who did I become when it happened? Who did I become as I aged? And who am I now because I went through that? And when people can make sense, and that's to me, that's the making sense of process. When people can make sense of that, then they can truly let go, forgive, and
Move forward.
move forward and now forge a life there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Live a nice, happy life.
Exactly. Yeah, this is where they move from reaction to creation.
Exactly. And you don't see it. You don't see what something that happened 20, 30 years ago is still doing to you.
Yeah.
You don't realize it until you see it on a list. It's like you act this way. And what do you act that way? Do you react to this? It's like, damn.
No, it's
It's a process.
it's a deep chapter and it is a deep process. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And well worth it. Well
Yeah.
worth it. Because you do the, I always call it the Thorazine shuffle, right? You're
Right.
going through your life and you just numb to it all, right? And you just, okay, until something comes up and triggers something.
Right.
Yeah.
An explosion, and you don't know where it's coming from.
Yep.
Right? And it's like once you start looking and doing things like this, then you know exactly where that's coming from, and that trigger won't happen again.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Or it won't happen with the same intensity. It absolutely changes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you won't forget. You know what I mean? You don't forget, but you learn to deal with.
Right.
And every time you do this, it's like it's a lesson. Practice makes perfect, right? So you little less
Yeah.
every time. Same letters, different arrangement.
That's absolutely true, Mary Jane.
Yes. Good
Yeah.
job, Mary Jane. That's why we keep her in the chat. Yeah, she's another girl.
But
we're
I
roping into.
think this is yeah, so needed this. Yes, I happen to agree, Sharon. This is a show I think that has helped. Is when we do a show, we think, okay, we've helped at least one person. But I think this show, I know that we've helped everybody in some way in the chat room, and who will be listening. Sorry, I'm out of focus again. Listening in the audio version. Not that the audio version needs to know I'm out of focus, but what the heck? Because everybody goes through these things in one way or another. And even, like I'm sitting here, oh yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. I was like, I got to get this book, and I'm going to be putting a lot of Post-it notes all over my doors because I work with Post-it notes. So it's like, okay,
I'm gonna be working on all of these difficult more grids, difficult conversation grid.
And the grids are where? Are they're on your website?
There's in the book. There's I think it's it cites a place you can download them.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So when everybody gets the book, when you order the book, there'll be a link in there. You'll have your link in there where to get them on the website. Perfect.
Yeah. And you can get the book anywhere books are sold, Amazon, whatnot too. So Put that up there too. So she's got other books out there too. She's got a lot going on, right? And and in her spare time writing books, being a professor at Pepperdine, that's
Something small.
yeah. But I know in your spare time you can write that next book because you really got
Yeah, no, that's the goal. I need to make a commitment as to when I'm going to reach out to at least one of the agents and see where we can go with it. So.
Well, Conscious Media. We'll talk to Conscious Media. And,
Oh, yeah, okay. That's right.
and so Bonnie and Felicia have taken over Missy's spot, and I liked Missy and Jackie, but Bonnie and Felicia are the people to talk to now. So we'll talk to them, and we'll get a few other ones on
Okay, all right.
speed dial.
Okay, good. I like that.
Hey.
Well, keep me in the loop. Let me know.
Well, you got to get writing.
It's not exactly. So I need to.
You write it, we'll make it happen.
Okay, very cool. I'm in.
All right.
I'll just be open to the help.
Yeah, right. And then you get to come back on the Fox then.
There we go. Well, this was sweet. So I totally.
Oh, I'm so glad.
It was very informative. Like I said, for me, this was very informative. I mean, love all my shows. Love all the 99.9%.
Most of them.
I only had two that I wasn't too keen on, but hey, I they taught me something. We always learn something from them. What I don't want. But we're not going to go there. But this is something that's important that helps a lot of people, and it will continue to help more people. So y'all get your butts out there. 90 seconds to a life you love.
Yep. We'll get it. All right, hang with us for a minute here. I'm just going to throw our exit video, and we'll see you all next week. And we have your friend.
Yay, Raven. Amazing lady. Amazing. Donna
Raven Lawn. Right? She'll be with us next Thursday. I'm doing a session with her on Monday, so I'll have a lot to talk about on Thursday. Mm-hmm. And Joan, I love you. People, get this book. Just get it. Get it. Okay? You're going to thank me. Some of the things you might be like, oh, son of a bitch, make me work. But in the end, you will thank me. All right? So love you all. See y'all next week.
Bye, babies.
Ciao for now.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D. We are here every Thursday evening from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you a variety of guests. We stream live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, as well as all our Anchor FM venues. We hope you enjoyed our show, our guest, and our featured Crystal of the Week segment with Athena Bari, and we would also appreciate it and love it if you would go to our YouTube channel, The Fox Den with Gina B and Mama D, subscribe, like, and definitely hit that notification button to never miss a show. We'll see you all next week, and subscribers, watch for our pop-up shows as well.